Hello. Are you watching channel top 5 first video about animal symbiosis received more than 6 million views, and you've been asking for a second one for a long time part, so get it. For those who are in tank, symbiosis means mutually beneficial cooperation between two different organism species. And here's about the most amazing ones cases of symbiosis in the animal world. I tell you now, I'll tell you. Let's go into the wild. This phenomenon is often observed in nature. Coyote and badger walk together. Friends, sometimes the group consists of one badger and two coyotes, and extremely rarely possible see the company where three coyotes enter and one badger. So why coyotes and badgers travel together? It's all about mutually beneficial cooperation. Each of they are extremely useful to others. The fact is that these animals are amazing, compensate for each other's shortcomings, and coyote and badger have very similar ration, but the fact is that the production is on which they hunt usually lies in burrows, and the badger can run fast. Unlike a coyote, he knows how to do it very well, dig holes of his victims, but he's slow, and therefore, if the victim runs out from his hole, he immediately runs after her to jay, which, unlike the badger, is so fast, and what can catch up quickly fleeing victim. If he catches up with her, then takes it for himself, and if the victim is running away from coyote ran into Naruto here in business, the badger enters and takes the prey already in this way in the toilet. These animals are much more effective than one by one according to some studies. Coyotes, those hunting in the company of a badger, catch on 34% more rodents than coyotes singles. This does not mean that these animals are friends. They essentially compete for one and the same food, just like the coyote's badger saves energy by sharing, catching load fast, and hidden mining. They also take advantage of each other's hunting skills. Though camera installed near the highway in Northern California captured the moment where you can see that the coyote is clearly being friendly badger emotions, and this is not the first time it has been noticed such an attitude of coyotes. What are they like? There are exceptions. Transported to the tropics on an island not but its mountainous areas due to the abundance rainwater washes away all the useful things from soil, and appeared here to survive. Carnivorous plants, which I already told you about once. Told plants secrete nectar, attracts various creatures which fall into a filled jug. Digestive juice, where they decompose plants, satisfy hunger. What I don't tell you, he told me that some of these plants entered very interesting symbiosis with bats. He's a Nepenthes. He needs something more. What insect is he waiting for? And this is the view. Nepenthes, they use nectar as bait instead at his lid. Ideal shape for sonar reflection. Plants lure the animal, which willingly climbs right inside the flower, but the bat is safe after the night hunting. She needs a place to rest. She does. A mouse falls into the deadly pool, fits snugly into the conical cup jug on a hot day. Waxed walls jugs provide guests with coolness. How does the plant benefit? Becomes clear with the onset. In the evening the mouse wakes up lazily, gets out of the flower to again go hunting, but she left behind is a payment rich in nutritious known bad droppings. How does guano, this plant, give one of the most valuable nutritional resources in Borneo? So you understand how valuable it is. You need to go into the cave that is located nearby on the same island here. On huge flocks of flying birds gather for the night. Mice and their excrement are spilled rain, creating real mountains of guano more than 15 meters high, and feeds here largest population of cockroaches in the world. But not only them, but also a huge number of other creatures such as giant flycatcher, cave spider, and even cave crab. Thanks to bats and their guano, even in this difficult habitat there was a place for a huge mass of living beings, not just for the rights to own guano. There was a whole war going on in the movie Ace Ventura 2. In front of you is a fig tree. Only on these fruits grow in the trees. Throughout the forest their flowers grow densely all year round, bunches internally until ripe figs, but they are not scorched yet, and so the fruit inedible by such a fig lover as Gibbon will have to wait to produce ripe fruit, for the tree requires some of the smallest forest inhabitants. Fig wasps, they are only 2 millimeters long. In figs a unique partnership has developed with these insects. The female wasp has won the only day when the fetus will allow dig an entrance in an unripe fruit. The tunnel is so narrow that it tears off the axil wings, But she won't need them anymore once inside. She makes her way tiny cramped boring interior, then she lays down hundreds of flowers. After this the wasp carefully removes the fig pollen from the abdominal cavity and pollinates her tiny flowers. Having completed the laying, she dies, remaining its figs were not ripe inside. Along with your eggs, the sunlight will help ripen the fruit slowly, and then develop young about yourself inside. Later 5 weeks Oceaton begin to hatch. First on the light appears golden wingless males, and then the most amazing thing begins. Males begin to mate with their unhatched sisters. They use for this, there is a telescopic penis, which twice as long as their body, and while they sisters are already pregnant and starting, males begin to hatch on their own, dig a path to the outside world on fresh air. Brothers' last action, very nobly they bring themselves to sacrifice to marauder ants. In this way males serve as bait, while their sisters' young females will not fly away from the fruit loaded with pollen. Live only 48 hours, and during this time you need to find another fig tree with unripe fruits to climb into them, like they did mothers in the end, and everyone remains benefited, and the tree receives pollination, ooze, an environment for reproduction, and a perfect symbiosis, whose consequences used by thousands of animals of different species. Because they are sitting these figs that ripen thanks to symbiosis between a wasp and a tree is not the only example of OS cooperation. Plants, for example, when on leaves some types of cabbage are attacked voracious caterpillars. Affected leaves plants release a chemical signal, anxieties, that attract wasps, and those helpfully fly after the attackers. This is how wasps get caterpillars food and cabbage, protecting its leaves transported to Africa. While zebras are chewing here, giraffes eat grass. Higher, this plant is called acacia. It beckons young leaves, but they are protected by long one spines. However, the tongue is half a meter long. Giraffe doesn't care, he copes with it without difficulty. But acacias have another line of defense, cooperates with these insects. An army of acacias in there. Ants rush towards help. They plunge into their jaws, where only can forcing the giraffe to go. Acacia grows special swollen spines to shelter a loyal army, and in the small cups of the plant secrete nutritious nectar specifically for the ants. Did not go far, and could it's easy to feed directly on it. A brilliantly stunning example of symbiosis, but not as amazing as the next one, is a sloth. He is extremely slow, and therefore impossible to escape from. A predator seems possible, but he came up with a different tactics. He entered into a symbiosis with these insects that the sloth breeds on your body in huge quantities. Several different types, but most of all there are moths, a prominent butterflies that besides, as if there are no sloths in the fur anywhere else. But why does he need them? Everything is simple, dead insects, and their droppings feed algae that grows directly on hair and sloth. This happens thanks to the number of furrows in each hair shaft follicle. This disgusting cover makes wool stinking that allows the sloth remain undetected by predators. Every week the sloth goes to dangerous journey down for butterflies. He is at high risk of becoming a victim of a predator. Other animals living in trees, they try not to do that, but he doesn't have a choice. He must breed prominent moths. Butterflies, when he lands on the ground, female butterflies jump off the sloth and lay eggs in his droppings. Later larvae hatch and feed droppings until they turn into butterflies, and they won't find another sloth to complete the life cycle of sloth butterflies. Ready to take a risk, because he can't live without them, otherwise predators will notice him, and he won't survive. Look at this picture in front of you is astrobelli and ants, and they quite strange length of these creatures, 5 millimeters. And they build their kingdom among dry plants, and inside the trees along the ant trails approximate eggs are scattered and ants pick them up. These are the eggs of a silver butterfly. When from eggs hatch caterpillars. Work at ants are increasing in number. I'm interested in these caterpillars. They take and drag the caterpillar silver butterfly into your home, and this a lot of people do. What Meraki, the further fate of those abducted by ants. Caterpillars take 1 year from entering a large ant colony. Appears caterpillar, what happened there? Maybe it looks like she's running away from ants, but this is the same caterpillar that they kidnapped a year ago, and now she is much more than their captors. From time to time caterpillars crawl out outwards. However, most of my life spends inside the tree along with ants. But how did the caterpillars live a whole year inside a tree with ants. If you look more closely, you can see that the ants are feeding this caterpillar something. They regurgitate food for the caterpillars. The moment the caterpillar hatched from eggs, she constantly ate what she wanted regurgitation of. Ants eye caterpillar. The silver butterfly was able to grow only on the food that the ants fed her, and before pupating the caterpillars, an even stranger thing is happening. Ants begin to bite one of their eggs, and then the caterpillars lay this egg. She eats the egg. It will give her what she needs, amount of protein for pupation. After this is why she actually pupates, and during this whole process the ants continue to guard her. After some time she turns into a butterfly and leaves the ants. Why did the ants help caterpillars? What was all this for? The point is that these Meraki are addicted thrusts. In fact, there is a whole colony in front of us junkies, and the caterpillar is just that, produces the substance for which the whole colony got hooked. When ants stimulate the caterpillar's tail, it secretes a sweet substance that, according to the lipid range of lags, it has highly addictive quality, and for the sake of this substance, these ants evolved to care caterpillars, and caterpillars evolved like this for the ants to feed them substance secreted by the caterpillar. Although addictive, but harmless, ants, and even vice versa, quenches them, need energy. But wait, this is a small plus of the efforts that spent caring for the caterpillar. Big question, and therefore scientists believe that they do it only because they are strong addiction caused by the substance. But in the ocean, you can see such an unusual union. Many species of gobies live together, with various types of crustaceans from family of crayfish click beetles. These creatures taught to cooperate so that you just shrimp barrels don't know how to dig holes. That's why crayfish take on this job, click beetles. But in small crustaceans, poor eyesight, and they can't see approaching danger. Because this, the barrels take over the work. They have eyesight much better, and they always inspect territory. As soon as it appears danger, the bull gives a signal, and they both hide. After the mink happens, the goby still can't dig it up, do without click crayfish, but otherwise the hole will quickly become sick with sand. As a result of this, animals of different species without each other nowhere on the sandy plains of the ocean is it's hard to hide. But the striped family clownfish found a great home. The animal is called sea anemone, and tentacles can also kill. Clownfish are immune to its poison, that they can hide from danger in turn the fish clean. The act of new from garbage and clean thoroughly. Excellent symbiosis is regularly obtained. The female is ready to lay eggs, but now only there is no solid place to go to. You could attach some fish, then start to get creative. There is an option, there's a sink nearby, but that's just it. Dragging her under the protection of the act is not too, it's hard, and besides, there's a owner. But fortunately twice a day act new is washed by tidal currents, which brings new opportunities. Old plastic bottle, maybe that's it, that's what you need. The fish push it too. I understand that it is not heavy enough for their task, but soon the current brings. Coconut shell is just what you need, but the shell is far from home, and the male is not able to drag her alone. Then all the other fish join, and everyone begins to work harmoniously, one push replacing another, and as a result, they gradually collide. Shell duok shadow. And then the fish raise the exenia to put your find there. Incredible. Finally the female can lay off game to a safe place, then the male is all this matter fertilizes and thoroughly takes care of the eggs until after 10 days the offspring will hatch and return to Africa to escape the unbearable heat. Rhinoceros goes to a watering hole. Cool mud calms overheating and extinguishes the male. He suffers not only from the heat, but also from blood-sucking ticks, because rhinoceros counts on cosmetologists who will help him help you go. Don't keep you waiting. These are African saying jellyfish. These turtles love to pull out old ticks. The giants wrinkled skin gains everything. Rhinoceros gets rid of parasites. Turtles get food. But on in the Galapagos, there are already such picture of crabs feeding on vile skin on the backs of iguanas. What do they get for free? Professional